Thanks to Fiverr for sponsoring this video. A few months ago, I built some guitars out of epoxy resin that didn't really turn out so great, but that's besides the point. In order for me to make those guitars out of epoxy, I first had to make a mold out of silicone. But in order to make that silicone mold, I first had to make a plug out of wood and get it as perfect as possible.
Still have the plug, so let's try hydro dipping it and turning it into a guitar.
If you're not familiar with hydro dipping, it's basically just dipping something into water that has paint floating on the surface. That's about it. But in order to hydro dip this guitar, I first had to do a little bit of prep work on it, as well as mount a wooden handle onto it so that I can dip it into the water without having to hold the body. Now, I could have just done this in a big tub, but I decided to use a 20-gallon aquarium purely for the viewing benefits.
Alright, so the guitar body is all prepped and painted with a white primer, and then I've got this handle screwed into the neck pocket so that I can apply downward pressure into the water. Well, that sucked. I'm not particularly happy with how it came out, so I am scrubbing off the paint, and then I will try it again, I guess. So a few things went wrong on that first attempt, but overall you can see what pattern is left after scrubbing off the majority of the paint. And I mean, it looks kind of cool, but it's not really the effect I'm going after, so I think I'm gonna sand it all off, reprime it, and try again.
I decided I'd try out this guitar body as well since I had it laying around. It'll be good to test on and get a practice dip in. Fun fact, this is an old Squier Strat, and the neck from this guitar was the neck that I used on my first ever guitar build, which was the original color pencil guitar. I mentioned that a few things went wrong on the first hydro dip, and one of those issues was that I think the water was too cold, at least per the instructions of the paint, which may have caused the paint to not flow correctly. But I also think I just took too much time pouring the paint and doodling around with a little stick to make a design. So on this dip attempt, I recruited my friend to help me speed up the process, as well as we used water within the appropriate temperature range.
This one came out a lot better, much cleaner lines, although there's still some blotchiness to the design. It's overall kind of more what I'm going after.
Now that I think I've developed a little bit of a plan for this, it's back to dipping the original guitar body.
I think hands down this one came out looking the best. I wish we would have used a bit more paint to cover up more of the white, but I think what I'm going to do is actually try dipping it again from the other side and see what kind of cool patterns I might get.
I also went ahead and built a neck for this guitar out of some leftover flamed maple that I had, and I wanted to do this because I also wanted to try hydro dipping the headstock of the neck, just to give it kind of a completed look. just finished dipping the headstock and letting that dry, and I think it came out looking pretty dang good, so I'm excited to see how it's going to look with the logo and clear coat on it. Speaking of headstock logos, this video is sponsored by Fiverr, and I'm actually going to show the process I went through to get a new headstock logo designed through Fiverr. Fiverr is a tool that I use to connect with different freelancers that offer digital services that help enhance my business. I was super pumped about teaming up with Fiverr for this project because it's a service I've already been using for years. Getting a headstock logo design through Fiverr was incredibly fast and simple. I'll just search for what type of work I want to get done. So in this case, it'll be logo design, and then I can browse through different freelancers and find one that I like. It usually doesn't take very long, as there's literally tons of freelancers to choose from that offer extremely professional work. Once I've made my decision, I'll purchase the service from my chosen freelancer, as well as provide them with any additional information they'll need to make my logo. In under 24 hours, I've received my digital logo, which looks awesome and is really going to help enhance the appearance of my guitar and add a more professional look. So now I am back in my shop after printing it out onto some water slide paper, and I'm going to get this logo applied. Now all it needs is a few layers of clear coat, some sanding and buffing, and it'll be all done. And here's the final product, from concept to reality. Head to fiverr.com/burlesart to check out the services available to you and get 10% off with code burlesart. Back to the rest of the build, and really all that's left now is to get some wood dye on the neck, apply some clear coat to everything, and then get it all level sanded. As per usual, we've hit a bit of a roadblock. This one hurts just because it's so close to the end. I had just applied some painter's tape and was peeling it off, and wham, up came the clear coat with the hydro dip paint as well. It's a small spot. I'm gonna see if I can repair it, at least make it less of an eyesore. We'll see. All right, so I was able to get most of it super glued back on, and you can still see the tear lines if you look close enough, but it's as good as I'm gonna get it without completely redipping the entire thing. I'm gonna put some clear coat over this little section, and then I'll just move on from it. Well, after that mess, all that's left is some fretwork, getting them installed and leveled and filed, and then some more delicate wet sanding and buffing. And finally, installing all the hardware and electronics.